If you're a smoker, you know switching isn't easy. You've tried vapes and e-cigs. They just didn't deliver the satisfaction you expected. But Juul is different. It's not an e-cigarette. It's a vapor product that actually satisfies. Plus, Juul is simple to use, and there's no cigarette ash and no lingering odor. As a smoker, you expect a certain nicotine experience, right? Juul delivers. Give Juul a try. Check out JUUL.com/sports. Switch and be satisfied. Yes, you can do both. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Panthers and Steelers, a game so big you might need to watch it upside down. And Steve Kerr's LeBron comp, what it does to the Zion takeover. All that with Isola, Yates, Page, Kimes. Let's go!
Zion should sit out for the rest of the season. Not going to do better.
Marching to Zion. Is that a dashiki on Mr. Clinton Yates? A full-length dashiki? Perhaps. Thursday Night Football, Panthers-Steelers. How the Panthers have put together a 6-2 season that none of you people have even mentioned for the first 2 months of the season. And how the Steelers turned around their bizarro start to find defense, to find contentment, to find first place. I'm going to ask you to break down tonight's game. But first, around the horn of Clinton Yates. Who's been more impressive in getting to where they are right now after the sluggish start?
For me, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And listen, I was very critical of Mike Tomlin for where this team was for a couple of different reasons. There was the deflated football incident allegedly in preseason. There was the situation with not being able to beat the Browns. There was AB picking fights with guys in my newsroom. So it was a bit of a problem. However, they have turned it around in terms of their offensive line play. They've allowed the third least sacks in this league next to the Panthers, by the way, who are right above them. And Mike Munchak has done a great job in terms of that offensive line. Look, James Conner is the best rusher in the AFC. I have to give a lot of credit for them for managing to keep it together when it looked like this season was going poorly and Tomlin's job was on the line.
That's good that you've taken your hits. Here's another hit for you for going completely opposite what you did the first 2 months of the season. How about you, Frank Isola?
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost like people are forgetting that what Tomlin has done over his career. And when it gets to November and it gets to December, you look at the standings and Pittsburgh is always at the top. And they're doing it with defense. This is what this organization is built on. During the 4-game winning streak, they haven't given up more than 21 points in any of those games. That's why tonight, and Carolina's been terrific. Cam Newton's been terrific. They have scored a total of 78 points in the last 2 games combined. So it'll be Pittsburgh's defense tonight, and that's what I'm counting on to come.
Mina Kimes.
I've got Pittsburgh winning tonight, but I think Carolina has been more impressive relative to the expectations coming into this season.
Okay.
When they hired Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator, there was a lot of criticism. We're talking about a guy who resigned midseason in 2016, never worked with a mobile quarterback. All he has done, Tony, is craft one of the most modern, exciting offenses in the NFL. Turn on a Panthers game, you'll see jet sweeps, end arounds, reverses, double reverses, and you'll see Cam Newton running the ball. He's averaged 9 rushing attempts per game, the most of his career. Integrated into a quick passing game, it's become so effective.
Let's talk about that integration a little bit. Again, Clinton, I'll give you a point back because you said it. They're good at pass protection now. He's not being sacked among the league leaders in the league. Where is that coming from, and how is it happening with this team now?
So one of the ways to make an offensive line better is to get the ball out quickly, and he is doing that this season, whereas in the past he would drop back and wait for guys to get open.
Woody Page, join us.
Well, Mina, and you make a good point there because his yards per attempt is at an all-time low during his career. However, because of that, he's able to complete 70% of his passes. He's throwing shorter more effectively. He got Greg Olsen back after the broken foot that kept him out at the beginning of the year. McCaffrey's become that Swiss Army knife that they drafted, both running and catching the ball. He is the two of them in the backfield, and that offensive line looks better because they're doing more things quicker. Defensively, they got 2 of the best linebackers in the entire league. You have to go with the Panthers because last year they were practically nothing, and they've come back from nothing. As Frank said, the Steelers are always there. The Panthers haven't been since they were in the Super Bowl.
I'm going to put Clinton Yates and Frank Isola on the spot again. QB you rather have tonight. Go ahead, Clinton.
I'm going to take Benjamin tonight, but if I'm looking at any sort of Super Bowl run for either one of these teams, I'm going for Cam because I just think he's a better football player overall right now.
So Ben gets a Benjamin, but Cam doesn't get a Cameron. Very interesting from you. All right.
I covered Ben in college. I know the guy, of course.
Frank Isola?
To me, this is about Cam Newton reminding everyone that he still can be a great quarterback. And to Mina's point, I think he has much more confidence now in being a passing quarterback as opposed to running the ball and being a battering ram where there's only so many hits a quarterback can take. He's become a lot smarter. You want to give North Turner some of the credit? I'm giving Cam Newton
Mina Kimes, we're into the halfway point of the season. I mean, now we can talk about legitimate Super Bowl runs. Which team do you see has a better path to that?
I would go Pittsburgh, just because I think they've got a slightly easier path. I know with the Chiefs, that's crazy, but the NFC is just far more stacked at this point.
Woody Page, you want to ask that?
Yeah, even though the Saints are running away with that division, I think that the Carolina's going to be a tough wild card to get out. However, I would take Pittsburgh because the Steelers are going to win the division, so they'll have a clearer path to get farther into postseason.
All right, so you're already giving the division to Pittsburgh. People in Cincinnati are watching, and they're interested in that take, but okay. Clinton Yates, who you got tonight and why?
Steelers, I just think that at home they've scored 70 points or 70-plus points in the last two home games.
Isola?
I'm going with Pittsburgh mostly because they're home tonight. And they need the game. Don't forget that tie that they had early in the season against Cleveland.
I've got Pittsburgh tonight as well for the reasons everyone described. They're at home. I actually think their defense has been better recently as well.
Steelers, because they need this game more than the Panthers. If you look at the schedule, Tony, you'll see they've got four major opponents.
I didn't look at the schedule, Woody. Thank you for bringing that up. I just assumed they played, most of the teams in their division and a few other teams mixed in there.
Patriots.
Okay, well, there you go. I didn't know that. You see, we'll move on. While this game is happening, by the way, Le'Veon Bell may be playing pickup at LA Fitness because that's what he's been doing this week. He also may be tweeting upside down because that's what he's doing this week. Mina, do you believe Le'Veon Bell, since he's now back in Pittsburgh, is slowly making his way to Pittsburgh, or do you not believe anything you're reading right now because it's upside down?
My only takeaway from that tweet is that he's trying to flip the narrative or something. As far as his contract and
I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Narrative was used, but it's a very good line. It's a very good line.
This guy's contract negotiations, nobody has any idea what's going on. It's been confusing from the start. There's been conflicting reports about what it means. All we know is this for sure, Tony. If he doesn't report, he's not playing the rest of the season, right? Because I don't think the Steelers are going to want to franchise him again, given the cost and given the return they can get if they let him walk. They'll get a comp pick next season. So the question is, why would he report? The only reason I can think of is that, he actually wants to play. But given his behavior and everything we know about him so far and his motivations in terms of trying to protect his body, I just don't see it.
Woody Page.
Well, his logic is upside down. I think he's trying to be an NHL goaltender and stand on his head. I think that's what he's trying to do because he's not coming back because nobody cares at this point. When Connor's leading, has done more. If you look at the last 8 games of Bell last year and Connor this year, Connor has the advantage. No Pittsburgh Steelers running back has ever had 100 yards rushing, 50 yards catching passes, and 1 touchdown in 4 consecutive games. They don't care whether he comes back.
I don't know if I ever knew that stat existed, but there you go, Woody Page. Clinton Yates, how about you?
Yeah, again, Connor's leading the conference in rushing, so I'm not concerned about how the Steelers feel about it. But on a larger level, this guy turned down a pretty big contract offer. I'm not sure who else is going to want to give him necessarily all this money after he's been sitting out for a year. So overall, this is just not a smart play from Le'Veon. Do I think he's coming back to Pittsburgh maybe to try to figure out whether or not that transition tag or whatever it may be may work? Sure. But if I'm another team, I don't know how quickly. I'm just saying, hey, come on down because you're going to be great. Look at the other guy who replaced you. He's doing fine.
Frank Isola?
I want to believe that his agent and Le'Veon Bell know what they're doing. Now, he's basically given up $10 million already, so it's hard to believe that no one in Le'Veon Bell's family has said, well, are you nuts? Sign the contract and get in there. But to me, he's a football player. The fact that he's in Pittsburgh now, I believe that he's going to be signed, and at some point, he's going to be playing for Pittsburgh.
So you believe the agent and Le'Veon Bell know what they're doing here. Is anybody questioning that at this moment? Mina Kimes, I'll ask you that first. Are you questioning that because the reporting here is now swirling?
A lot of the confusion is over what the value of the franchise tag will be. There's still conflicting reports about how much it would have cost. I don't know if anyone knew what it would be. The CBA is very complicated earlier in the season. I think our interpretation of that has changed over the course of the season as it's gone.
Okay, real quick, around the horn here, Woody Page, Clinton Yates, do you think Bell will be accepted into a locker room, whether it's Pittsburgh or his team next year after all this?
Yes, players tend to care about themselves and their teams. They hope he shows up, but they're going to treat him like they would the friendship.
Yeah, and for that reason, it depends on how many touches he gets. If they all of a sudden bring him back and he's taking away all the carries from Connor because they care about themselves, that could be a serious issue, not just from a philosophy standpoint, but from a strategy standpoint for this team. This is not going to be an easy integration if he comes back.
I can hear that. We'll move on. Next up, headline 3. Next guy's coming. Yesterday's panel on Duke's opener, the greatest opener in the history of openers, and that's not hyperbole because they beat number 2 by 34 and scored 118. But here's Steve Kerr on Iron Lion Zion Williamson. LeBron, I thought that was a one-shot deal, Adam. Wherever you are, please don't find me. He brought up LeBron's name. He invoked LeBron here with Zion Williamson after one game of college. Frank, where do you think of that? What do you think of Kerr going there now?
As the young kids like to say, pump the brakes on that. This is LeBron James we're talking about. That's LeBron James is Magic Johnson, but more athletic. I will say this, though, about LeBron now, comparing him to these kind of players. It used to be that it was Grant Hill, Vince Carter, even Harold Miner. They were compared. They'll be the next Michael Jordan. Now we've reached the point where great players coming in are being compared to LeBron. That in itself is flattering. LeBron James, though.
But if I can ask you, just even from an on-the-court basketball sense, what do you think of that, Frank?
Listen, the kid is a dynamic player.
Right.
He's so unique when you look at the size that he is. I look at him, and I don't mean this as a negative. I see a lot of Blake Griffin, a big-time athlete that could jump over people, and that's not a bad thing.
Mina Kimes?
As the young kids actually say right now, slow your roll, okay? Because it's one thing for us plebes to come out and compare him to LeBron, and it's undeniable when you watch him, the physicality, the passing, it's all there. It's another for the